So now, in the avenue of improved communication, we're hearing from a lot of cities and counties out there that they don't have very good communication within their system, where it leads to residents calling in, what's the status of my permit? Or side communications that happen to clarify things that now down the road they say, well, I spoke to planning and zoning and they said I could do this. And people are scrambling trying to find that communication. Let's bring that all together. And that's what Clarity can bring to you. So let's dive into that. So now on the back end of the system to your, or I should say on the front end with your applicant, they have this information that they might be using as a guide or the application, and they come as an example here to this setback information, right? And they see the information and they read the links to additional information, but they still have a question. On every spot, they can ask their question, you know, and in this example, I have a question, on setbacks, rattle them off. They post it. Clarity time stamps it and time and date stamps it and puts the individual's name. But more importantly, Clarity knows what department to reach out to with this question. Setback question goes to planning and zoning. Now, an individual or a group in planning and zoning would get an email with Bob's question, right? And they can see that and answer that question right from their email, right off their phone or their laptop. Or they can come into the back end of the system and we're looking at the submissions. And here's that submission that Bob asked the question out of. And in opening up Bob's submittal, you see exactly what Bob sees on his side, right? So this information on setbacks, if he's asking you this question, you can see what he sees, right? And in this example, you can even see his question that was just asked a minute ago, right? So if he calls in, uh, or you could respond right here with your answer, so maybe you say Bob called in and you say spoke to Bob, told him this, whatever. And you can post that. And now the city knows who talked to Bob and when he spoke to him. But also, Clarity offers internal communication. Maybe there was something a little sketchy with the conversation with Bob, and you could tell everyone, watch out for Bob, and tell them why. Or maybe there's an angry dog in the backyard, whatever it is. And in posting this, this is only saved to or shared with city personnel, not with the applicant. So you have two ways of communicating back and forth, but just as importantly, on the submission itself, as we scroll down here, we have this activity feed, and the activity feed is going to include all those conversations uh, and the questions that Bob had in the order that they came in, right? And as the permit moves through the permit process or approval process, you're going to see that as well. But now let's assume that we have our application, and in reviewing it, we're seeing all the various pieces of information that were shared. We see the documents that were shared. But in reviewing these documents, we notice that the engineering plans are incorrect, right? There, it's a picture of the applicant's dog or a different engineering plan. So we have the ability to request changes in the process. And in this example, we're going to request that the engineering plans are changed. And we'll say engineering plans are wrong. You'd probably include longer information here. And you can see there is the ability to include additional notes. And you're going to alert the applicant. So in requesting these changes, you'll see that we're now in this change request status, but your applicant receives an email and they can go into their application. I'll refresh it here, and you can see uh, the status is now changes are requested. There's that comment of please make changes. Maybe I could have been more exact to the engineering plans, but in coming in here, we see that the engineering plans are wrong, and I come in and see that and find the correct engineering plans, drag and drop them in, say I'm done making changes, and resubmit. So on your side now, if I refresh, someone within your department is alerted. They come in and now they see the status change to the applicant resubmitted. And in scrolling down now, they have the ability to see all the various documents that are in here. And in this example, here is the updated document and here is the old document. So they can take a look at this document. If need be, they can also delete the old document if they have the correct level of access and go from there. Again, keeping all that communication internal within the system itself.